Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of AgricTech Founders Diary, powered by AgricTech Digest. And I'm your host, Kenneth Obayuana. Today, we are looking at a topic that that's too many AgricTech founders overlooked. And it's not that topic than marketing. For me, I think marketing is very crucial part of what we do as a founder or as a startup company in the architect space. So we think as a company we needed to look into this conversation today. So it's not just about visibility, it's not about value. It's not just about visibility, it's about value, voice, and building trust at scale. Because truthfully, even the best technology fails if no one understands its impact. So there's need for us to understand the impact of what we are building. Our guest today is Mika Naidoo. I hope I pronounced that very well. A market strategy with deep expertise across tech, agriculture, and brand growth. She works with agri-tech startup and multinational brands like helping them communicate better, reach wider, and connect meaningful with their audience. We will explore what makes marketing the missing link in what makes marketing the missing link in agritech success and how founders can use it to unlock growth. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So first of all, before we begin, I would love us to meet with Mika. So Mika, tell us about let's start from the beginning. What first draw you to this intersection of marketing and agriculture? No, before we even go into marketing, what draw you to marketing and intersection? Tell us a bit about yourself. Everything about yourself, a bit then, and that lead you to come into or that brought you to marketing. I think we should start from that. Let's get to know you a bit more better.
Awesome. Thanks, Kenneth. I'm Mika Naidoo, and I've been working in marketing B2B and B2C for about 12 years now. And what brought me into agriculture or agritech in particular was a little bit random, if I'm honest. I kind of stumbled upon agritech through a referral from another client. Initially, I was working with tech companies on their communication and basically distilling really complex technical language into digestible, compelling consumer language. So I was working with a number of companies doing this. And then being introduced to AgricTech, I found that it was no different, really. And I saw there was quite a big opportunity within AgricTech to do the same thing and to achieve the same goals.
Amazing. But first of all, I want us to know about tell us a bit about yourself a bit. One, did you study marketing? How did you even move into marketing? Some brands you've worked with, yeah. Give us a little bit of your credentials. Yes, that would be yeah.
Got you. So yes, I have a qualification in marketing. I have an honors in brand management, actually. Before that, I had a qualification, or have a qualification rather, in English and media. And I specialized in marketing and brand building. Straight out of my honors year, I worked for Top Gear Live. It's a very popular brand in the UK. Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, James May. And that was in the motoring industry. And I worked on a version of that was the festival version that they used to take around the world. So I started my career there in events, actually. From events, I moved to consumer research, consumer insights for big brands such as PepsiCo, Unilever. I worked on MTN and quite a few other big brands such as Diageo. And then I ventured into the startup space, actually, and helped smaller brands within startup from food and beverage to alcohol, etc. I've also been a part of a skincare company, an international skincare brand, as the international brand manager. I also ventured into PR. I've dabbled into a lot of things before eventually branching out and starting my own agency. Because it just made sense, to be honest. I had worked across so many different industries in so many different roles, and it just made sense for me to take all of my learnings and insights and help other companies based off everything that I've learned and all the knowledge I've acquired over the past 10 plus years.
Great. Amazing. You really must be really, really versatile. All right. It's always inspiring to hear our experts feed into impact-driven industry like agriculture. But looking back at your experience, what's one defining moment or project that made you realize how powerful marketing can be in transforming agri-tech venture?
So I worked on a campaign where the customer was struggling to understand or truly see the value of the product that we're working on. But the problem was actually not with the product itself at all. The issue came in where sales teams across Europe and even as far afield as Latin America, etc., were approaching it with different narratives and different iterations of what the product does, which ultimately caused confusion in the market. So we had to go back to basics in the sense that we looked deeply at the product and then defined its true value proposition, distilled that into really clear communication that the customer can understand, and equipped the sales team with compelling content that they can take out into the field. It served as their kind of armor, if you will, when they approach farmers and growers. And with that, localized to each market, it really improved the brand clarity, and in doing so, improved sales.
I see. Amazing. So that's you've had quite a journey there.
Yes.
Yes. That's the kind of story that makes the industry feel alive when strategy meets purpose, actually. So many agri-tech founders comes from technical or agricultural backgrounds, not marketing. What's the biggest misconception they have about marketing?
I've heard it all, to be honest, Kenneth. Everything from marketing is about making things look pretty. Marketing is subjective. It's an add-on, not really necessary, etc. And I think that's I can understand to an extent where the perception comes from. It's because agriculture and agri-tech is very product driven, and often very word of mouth driven. A little bit old school, if I can say. So I understand where it stems from, but it's an unfortunate perspective that isn't valid, because marketing isn't that, or it isn't just that. It's clarity. It's building trust at scale. It's it's about demand generation. It's crucial.
Great. I agree to the to what you said there. But is it fair to say that some AgricTech founders still see marketing as optional rather than essential? Do you think? What's your thought about that? Do you think AgricTech founders do you think they see marketing as essential, or do you think they just see it as optional?
I think, unfortunately, there are still quite a few who view it as optional. And I think that's an unfortunate perspective. But it is changing. It is slowly changing. I think as we are evolving into a more digitalized version of this world that we're living in, the perception is slowly changing. But I do think that there is that perception of it being optional. Yeah.
I see. Okay. You when you look at startups that have struggled to grow, what was actually missing from their marketing approach? Was it clarity, was it storytelling, or customer understanding?
What was that? Clarity, storytelling?
No, I mean, what do you think is the missing? Like when you look at startups that have struggled to grow, what was what was actually missing from their marketing approach? Was it clarity that was missing, or was it their storytelling was not powerful enough, or do you think it was just customer understanding? What's like the missing link in the marketing that's making startups to struggle?
Got you. It's generally all three, to be honest. But I would say the root is always not understanding the customer deeply enough, and truly understanding what their pain points are, what their context entails, what messaging would really resonate with them, etc. And once you have a really deep and thorough understanding of the customer, that helps your clarity. It helps your brand story fall into place a lot easier.
I see. So, well, just a follow up. It's if a founder has a very limited budget, where should they start first? Is it brand clarity, social media proof, or customer engagement?
Definitely brand clarity. I would say with the limited budgets,
Mm-hmm.
you need to make sure you have a landing page that really converts.
Mm-hmm.
That says off the bat exactly what is the problem that you're solving. 2 to 3 short videos on exactly what you offer. Make sure your SEO is up to date. Make sure that you have a solid LinkedIn profile, that you have a presence online, etc. I think all of that is very achievable with the small budgets.
Okay, I see. That's amazing. But let's talk about storytelling. How can AgricTech founders craft narrative that investors, customers, and communities actually connect with?
I would say it's shifting the narrative
Mm-hmm.
away from themselves
Mm-hmm.
and onto the customer, and getting into that customer's world, understanding what are the problems that the customer is facing. And once you understand the very real, tangible issues in which they are facing, then it's easy for you to solve them. And when you tell your stories, from that perspective of this is what you're going through, this is exactly how we resolve that for you. I think that's where a really strong, powerful narrative starts to form, and how you get remembered in the minds of consumers.
Amazing. Okay, a story. I completely agree what you said. Anyway, a story where told is always more powerful than a product where built. That's my belief. But you work closely with startups and teams trying to bring marketing discipline into agritech. What were the biggest challenge they faced? How did they overcome them?
I would say resistance is often quite a big challenge. In agritech, you're often dealing with brilliant minds, but with
Mhm.
that, a lot of science-driven people, product-driven people, etc., that where marketing is not perceived necessarily as a priority. And I think that's quite a significant barrier. There's usually 1 or 2 people on the team that's really trying to sell it in,
Mhm.
and then it's met with that resistance. And I would say the way to overcome that is to ground your marketing, pun not intended, but ground your marketing in the field. And in the very simplest form of that is speaking to customers, speaking to your growers, for example, and understanding exactly what their pain points are, and translating that into the content that you create, and you will see that kind of pickup of that.
Okay, but then let me. Was there ever a moment a team had to completely rethink how they communicate their values to customers? Have there been a time that you or your team members have to completely rethink how you communicate, how your clients, like the guys you're serving, how they have to communicate their values to customers?
Yes, there was a time where I worked with a sales team that again was quite misaligned on exactly what the product value proposition was. And in trying to communicate value to the customer, ended up using the word affordable or cheap, etc., in an attempt to communicate like this is value. And that was, it obviously had negative implications, because in the minds of the consumer, it's now your product is cheap, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
cheap. It can't be as of as much quality as a competitor client, etc. So that caused a bunch of problems. So we had to again strip back, go back to basics, and define exactly what are the key benefits to be communicated, and develop the collateral to arm the sales team with to communicate consistently.
Mm. Great. I could imagine. I love marketing actually. I think the part of marketing I love is the creative thinking. You
Yeah.
need to wear your creative arts, sometimes problem solving skills,
Yeah.
those are some of the part I love about marketing. I actually love sales, but I love marketing more than sales because of the
I mean,
creative part of marketing.
that's the thing. It works hand in hand,
Yes,
right?
they works hand in hand. Yes, I agree. But a lot of people also kind of confuse sales for marketing. Actually, people think when you say actually, I used to also confuse marketing for sales. Maybe we need to differentiate it for people, because a lot of people think. I used to think marketing was sales.
Got
Sales
you.
was marketing. They work intertwined. So a lot of people kind of confuse them. But of course, I believe that marketing is quite different from sales. Sales is quite different from marketing, but a lot of people kind of mix them together. So
Yeah.
I would just like you to maybe take some time and separate what's the difference between marketing and sales. So for people listening, they should be able to understand that, oh, okay, there's a difference between marketing and sales. Yes.
So marketing drives sales. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole point, right? It's marketing provides you with the basis, your baseline, from which you can go out and make sales. So that was often what I that's literally what I do.
Yes.
And often the position that I'm in is working with a sales team and a marketing team. It's not always the case. Sometimes I work directly with an agency or directly with the marketing team. It just depends on the situation, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of my recent situation in Agritech, where I'm very much working not just with the sales team who's going out onto the ground, into the field, but also with the technical team that understands the product really well. So I would sit with the technical team and go, okay, in very simple terms, what are we trying to communicate with this product? What are the
Mm-hmm.
key benefits? And I would take that, transform it into messaging. This is the marketing aspect. Into messaging based off, what I know the customer will respond well to. And I get that information, through my own research, but then also through collaborating with the sales team, the guys on the ground who are meeting with farmers, who have a close relationship with farmers and growers, etc. And between collaborating with both of them, the communication in which is crafted, or that is crafted, is the marketing function.
Mm.
And from distilling our messaging into communication that can live in sales toolkits, it can live in blogs, it can live on web pages, and it can live consistently communicating the same message. That is a fundamental aspect of marketing. Obviously marketing is broad. We can go on and on about social media and this and that, but in this context, that's where it would sit. And with the marketing communication that's crafted, you really enable your sales teams to go out with a strong message, strong pieces of communication that can sell your product.
Nice. Nice.
Mhm.
Now the goal for listening right now who feel their marketing is not working. What's one practical step that they can take this week to fix that?
I would say to speak to a couple of customers, 3 customers, and get their answers right from the horse's mouth, so to speak, by going, what is working with us? Why were you hesitant to join us, perhaps? And get that insight directly from the source. I think in doing so, it's a very truthful way. Sometimes hard to hear at times, because sometimes you could be completely in love with a particular message or phrase, but you don't necessarily know how it's landing with potential customers unless you go out and ask the questions. So I think a little bit of field research is the way to go there.
I see. That's a good one, guys. This week, talk to customers, at least 3 3 customers. It's good to hear from the Aussie smart, right? But for us, really, the goal is to leave listeners with something they can act on immediately, not just think about. So guys, go act on that. Now, looking ahead, what's the future of marketing in the agritech space?
Future of marketing in the agritech space.
Yes.
I would say it is storytelling, precision storytelling, powered by data. Sorry, I need to think about this one a little bit.
That's fine. Take your time. Yeah.
I think I'll stick with that.
Okay.
So we're living in a time where, whether it's farmers, growers, distributors, etc., more and more people are getting their answers online. Not just online, but obviously AI as well.
AI, yeah.
And I think in terms of agritech, it's no different. People are going to continue doing that, and it's important that brands continually show up in digital spaces. More and more people within the industry are using online platforms, including social media, for example, more than they ever have before. And it's important for brands to meet that consumer where they are. And in different regions, it will be different. I've worked with companies where they have a really strong community base on Facebook. For others, it's WhatsApp communities. For others, it's YouTube. And I think the brands that will stay ahead are brands that are where the customer is and makes an effort to have communication strategies within those platforms. I think brands that begin to do that now will be strong in the next 5 years, looking at where we're going.
That's fine. Amazing. Okay. But I really think I completely agree with what you said. Anyway, for the future of marketing in the agritech space, I think AI is going to drive that future. I mean, AI is going to disrupt it. A lot of marketing agencies are scared, but I think everybody needs to embrace AI. AI is going to really, really disrupt it. AI is going to disrupt it. There's going to be a lot coming into the space, precision marketing, so to say. So it's going to be able to predict, analyze, and make the work more easy and fun. That's what I think, and I think every agritech founders, every agritech startup needs to embrace the future of marketing. They need to really embrace the future of marketing. So, if you were to predict what trend will define agritech marketing in the next 5 years?
Sorry, Kenneth, can you repeat that?
If you were to predict what trend will define agritech marketing in the next 5 years?
What trend?
Okay, let me come again. Let me take that again. If you were to predict what trend will define agri-tech marketing in the next 5 years, or are we moving towards digital first engagements? Are we moving to micro influencer storytelling or AI driven personalizations? So what of these which of these trends will you predict will define the agri-tech marketing in the next 5 years? Yeah.
I think it kind of dovetails off the last answer.
Yeah. Yes.
So beginning with meeting the customer where they are on the respective platform, right?
Okay.
And in that sense, digital first and showing up within those spaces. But then the next layer on top of that is micro influencers within each of those spaces as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about showing up where the customer is, but telling real stories through popular agronomists, industry leaders, etc. People love real, authentic voices,
Yeah.
real, authentic stories. So I think that will be really big. And then, of course, AI personalization. When it comes to different automations to do with different types of crops, different types of geography, etc., etc. But I think before that, from a marketing perspective, it would definitely be micro influencers telling real life stories on these digital first platforms.
Nice. I'm amazed to see, because normally for me I would have gone for AI driven personalization first. But I know you're coming from the perspective of marketing, so I would have like AI driven personalization first. Micro influencer storytelling is going to be huge. I really, that'll be my predictions. So AI driven personalization, micro
Yeah.
influencer storytelling is going to be huge. I really, really agree to that. Anyway,
Yes, I think
moving
like
on. Okay,
when it comes to
no, go ahead. You want
oh,
to say?
sorry. I think you're 100% right. Like I've just been to Web Summit actually,
Mm-hmm.
and in terms of AI, but that's not necessarily to do with marketing. It's just in general, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Yes.
agritech. It's literally
Yeah,
agritech. Everyone's using AI,
yeah.
and that's amazing. But I think that as an industry, we're a little bit backwards in the agritech space.
Yeah.
And I think before companies start thinking too deeply about, let's just jump to AI first, there's a lot of groundwork from a marketing perspective that needs to be done before you can even enter that space. Do you have a clear, consistent brand message? What is your value proposition? Where do you sit among competitors, etc.? And once you have the groundwork of marketing in place and know what your brand voice is or you want it to be online, then I think would be time to start experimenting with more complex marketing tools, to be honest. But often it's within the agritech space, I've found it's really distilling back to basics first.
Mm, I agree. You are the expert, so I agree totally with you. But moving on, how should founders prepare themselves now to stay ahead of these challenges we see coming?
I would say invest in your consumer insights, like understand your customer and their pain points in order to come up with a clear, consistent message. And often
Mm-hmm.
you need external help for this, which is exactly what I do within my agency, is exactly this, because the customer is busy, right? I mean, not the customer. Agritech founders and people within the industry they're busy doing the day-to-day. They're busy working on the technology. They're busy on farms. They're busy on the ground. And I think investing in customer research, investing in someone or a resource to help you with your distilled, clear communication for your company or your brand. And then, once you have that, transforming that into content that lives online and building a really strong, powerful brand voice online is the way to cement a really strong foundation for you to prepare for these changes, digital changes that are about to come in the next 5 years.
Nice. Lastly, to my last question to you today will be, what's your biggest advice for Agritech startup listening to us? I mean, this time will be a marketing advice to them. Yes. So, what will be like your biggest marketing advice for Agritech startup or Agritech founders listening to us? What will be your biggest advice to them?
It would be to take marketing a little bit more seriously.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
maybe well, I'm kidding, not just that, but to understand the true value of it, um,
Okay.
and to see it beyond making something pretty or just a nice to have, and to view it as something that drives demand generation and builds trust of your brand at scale. Something that places your brand among other brands as top of mind um, in the consumer consideration set. I think shifting that perspective is a real game changer, and will, louden your voice in a very cluttered landscape where there's constantly new technologies and new innovations popping up. So it helps you cut through the clutter of that and the noise and really stand out, and ultimately drive sales, which is what marketing is all about.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Anyway, Mika, thank you for helping us see that marketing is not just about selling, it's about scaling. It's about scaling, meaning, mission, and movements. And to our listeners, if you are building an architect brand and ready to share your journey, fill out the guest intent form link in our show description. You can catch this episode and more on Spotify and Amazon Podcast. For behind the scenes stories, visit agritechdigest.com and follow us on all our social media platforms. Until next time, keep building, keep going, and keep listening, and keep telling the story behind your solution. Until we see you again, bye for now. Thank you once again, Mika, for joining us on today's episode. I personally really appreciate you for that. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Cheers, Kenneth. Thank you.